Hi, I'm Rudolph. My birth name is Rudolf Harst, but many children around the world, and especially on the playground of my elementary school, call me Rudolph the Red-nosed Reindeer. What people don't know is that I'm also Rudolph the Reading-nosed Reindeer. You see, I was born with a red nose, and that made me different from the get-go, but that wasn't the only thing that made me different from the get-go. As much as I wished I could take my red nose off as a reindeer, and as much as I wished my antlers were strong and healthy like the other guys, really big, strong, I mean really big antlers they had, and I had tiny little antlers. And they all like to laugh and run and play reindeer games. Me, I much preferred just sitting under a tree and watching clouds go by. And the way those clouds change, infinitely more fun than tangling antlers with other reindeers. And one thing that really set me apart from the other reindeer is that I love to read. Reindeer don't read. They laugh and play reindeer games. But I saw Santa Claus making up his list year after year of who's naughty and nice. And one year I just went over there and said, how do you know who's on that list is naughty and nice? He said, well, I just read the names on the list. And I said, what's read? Well, Santa Claus, being who Santa Claus is, a man of infinite patience, he taught me how to read. And once I was hooked on reading, I just couldn't get enough. I didn't only want to read the list of naughty and nice and the names and addresses of all the kids. I started reading Santa's books about doing good in the world. And that was way more fun than anything else. So I'd go sit under a tree and pretend I was napping, but really I was kind of reading, because if the other reindeer had seen me reading, they really would have teased me, not only for my red nose and for my tiny antlers and for not playing games, but reading. And then one day, when I had just kind of hit that stage in my reindeerhood when my antlers were growing bigger and I was starting to fill out a little bit, I looked down in the river as I was drinking, and I noticed that my nose had a glow to it. It had never been there before. That was odd. And as I looked at it more, it started glowing brighter. And the more I looked at it, the brighter it got. And then I heard my brother Donner coming from up the path, and I quickly made the glow go away, because I didn't want him to see it glowing on top of being red, on top of being a reader, on top of being all that little stuff. I couldn't have him tease me for that too. But that night, when I was back in my own little spot at home, I practiced with my nose. I practiced making it brighter and brighter. And then I thought, well, it's so bright I could just about read by this light. Wow. Then I was really hooked. I could read all night long if I wanted to. And if the print was really small, in the books, why, I could make my nose really bright. And then if I heard one of my brothers coming down the hall or something, I could quickly turn the light off and snuggle under the covers like I was just a regular reindeer. Well, one night when I was reading my book and really engrossed in it, and a bright light shining off my nose and having a good time, there came a knock at my window and a clatter on my roof. And what was it? It was Santa Claus asking me if I could come guide his sleigh, because he'd been watching me secretly. He'd been watching that glow in the dark while he and the elves worked in the workshop all night making presents and stuff. He noticed that this glow was coming from my little window night after night, and it was getting brighter. And Santa said, "Hey, Rudolph, tonight it's really foggy and I need your help getting to the places I need to go, because it's so foggy I don't know that I could find my way without a light. Could you help?" And I said, "Sure, but the other reindeer won't like it, because they don't like me, because I'm not strong and I won't be fast enough." And he said, "Yeah, but you've got the light to lead the way. We need you." So what could I do? Santa said he needed me, and he taught me to read, and he was Santa Claus after all. So I said yes, and I hooked up to the other reindeer on the sleigh, and we went off delivering presents all around the world and had a great time for a while. But about halfway around the world, I was getting really tired. I just couldn't keep up with those big old reindeer who were used to pulling sleighs. I was used to reading books and sitting under a tree watching clouds. And at one rooftop, I just couldn't take it anymore. While Santa was going down the chimney, I said, hey, guys, I can glow or I can try to fly and keep up with you guys, but I can't do both. They said, well, Rudolph, we can't pull you along. How are we going to solve this? And I said, I know. I can teach you how to make your nose glow. I bet even though your nose is brown or black, that you could make your nose glow too. They said, what are you talking about? Reindeers don't have glowing nose. You're the only one. I said, no, I bet you could. Let's just practice here. Everybody think about, really put your attention in your nose and make your nose glow. And sure enough, Donner and Blitzen got it right away. The others took a little while longer, maybe because they were my brothers. I don't know. Maybe they'd been secretly watching me. But after a while, before Santa came back up out of the chimney, we had all developed a little glow. And we started off to the next sleigh and to the next stop. And I didn't have to work so hard at glowing my light because they were glowing their lights. And it was easier for me to focus on like trying to keep up with these guys. And so it was that we went all the way around the world, and they delivered all the presents, and their noses got brighter and brighter, and I got to concentrate more and more on being stronger and stronger. And by the time we got back home, all the presents were delivered, all the noses were glowing, and we were all friends. And we got together and sang to each other, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's a cute story, maybe or maybe not. It's very close to my heart, because my name is Rudolph, and I did immigrate here from Holland at the age of 5, and that first Christmas was hell, between kids making fun of my accent and making fun of Rudolph the Red-nosed Reindeer and feeling out of place to begin with in the strange country because they were celebrating Christmas with presents, when everybody knew you were supposed to do that at Sinterklaas on December 5th, not on Christmas Day, the 5th, and so I didn't like Christmas. Never much cared for Christmas myself. I'll be frank with you. Between the teasing and growing up poor, where there really weren't presents in the household, and all the other kids would come back from Christmas telling about the toys they got, and they say, "Rudy, what'd you get?" "Oh, socks, underwear." It just never. The Christmas giving thing, Santa Claus thing, never did sit well with me. But the part that I did resonate with from the time that I was old enough to sing in the choir and sit up in the choir loft watching the Christmas pageant unfold was the notion that God was somehow born in a baby every year, and that it was totally mystery. No matter how the grown-ups tried to explain to me about virgin birth and taxes and wise men and camels, and no matter how many times I read scripture growing up, the story itself remained mystery. How the heck could God be born as a baby, and why did it matter? And as I got older and became more aware of spiritual principles, the Christmas story started resonating more and more for me, in part because I was raised in a very religious home where going to church and reading the Bible was as much a part of daily life as breathing and taking a shower. Part because it was in me, but I think it wasn't just in me as a Protestant, it was in me as a human being to know that again and again there is something being born in me in a tiny little bitty form, however humble, that I think it's very significant that the Christmas story takes place in a manger in Bethlehem. I don't know, how many of you ever been to the Holy Land? Ever been to Israel, Palestine? I had the good fortune of going with Zet back in 1991, and I got it for the first time. Bethlehem was a little town out in the middle of nowhere. It was like Seguin. No, it was like a really small town, like Hunt, Texas, like out there. And Jerusalem was like New York City. And if God had really wanted to make a big splash, he would have had this baby born in New York City or in Jerusalem, not in some little podunk town in a manger in very humble circumstances. After studying the Bible more and more over the years, I've come to understand it less and less. I've come to understand, recently took a New Testament class this last semester in which my professor finally made me understand. He's a world-leading authority on the subject of the book of Acts in particular, but New Testament in general. He goes to conferences all over the world, and he said to me, we don't really know who wrote the New Testament, much less where. But we do know why. We do know why each of the books was written. Each one has a particular agenda, has a particular community it addresses. Each one has a particular time and a place it addresses. But none of them were really meant to be taken literally. The stories, the parables, the myth, and certainly the central metaphor of Jesus being born and died was pasted on top of an age-old understanding of the importance of demigods, which were known and worshipped throughout the world, certainly throughout what we now call the Mideast, for thousands of years before Jesus was born. Why am I saying all that? Because I believe fervently that each and every one of us has the capacity to rebirth the Christ, to glow from the inside out, not just in our nose, but in our hearts, in our toes, in the very cell and fiber of our being. There is a deep-seated human need to find hope again and again in the darkest of times, in the most humble of circumstances, to reach inside and touch that which is mystery, which cannot be solved, cannot be fixed or bought, but can always, always, always be touched and reborn every single time we ask for, focus on, turn within, and find that which is the Christ, which is the Goddess, which is the Buddha, which is life. Asking again and again, won't you let me shine through you? And you, and you, and you. And yes, these are dark times. And yes, you may have troubles. And yes, who knows what will happen on January 20th, much less January 21st. But we do know that since time out of mind, people have gathered just like us this morning to look into each other's eyes and affirm that, yes, I see the Christ light, the Goddess light, the life light being born in you now. And won't you see it too? And won't you see it in me? So that together we can remember, so that together we can live from a place of not having to fight the empire. Whether it was the Emperor Augustus, or the Star Wars Empire, or the Republican Empire, or the Democratic Empire, or the boss in the desk next door emperor that seems to be causing us trouble. Again and again, we're called to the manger, called to that within ourselves which is humble and quiet and waiting to be reborn. Not tomorrow, not only 2,000 years ago, but now, and now, and now. That's my Christmas story, and I'm sticking to it.